Today's reading is from Matthew chapter 20, the parable of the workers in the vineyard. For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire workers from the vineyard. He agreed to pay them a denarius, for that was the daily rate, and he sent them to his vineyard. About 9 in the morning he went out and saw others standing in the marketplace, doing nothing. He told them, "You also go and work in my vineyard, and I will pay you whatever is right." So they went. He went out again about noon and about 3 in the afternoon, and the same at 5 in the afternoon. He went out and found others still standing around, and he asked them, "Why have you been standing here all day long doing nothing?" "Because no one has hired us," they answered. And he said to them, "You also go work in my vineyard." When the evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, "Call the workers and pay them their wages, beginning with the last ones hired and going on to the first." The workers who were hired about 5 in the afternoon came, and each received a denarius. So when those who came, who were hired first, they expected to receive more, but each one of them also received a denarius. When they received it, they began to grumble against the landowner. "Those who were hired last worked only 1 hour," they said, "and you have made them equal to us who have borne the burden of the work and the heat of the day." But he answered one of them, "I'm not being unfair to you, friend. Didn't you agree to work for a denarius? Take your pay and go. I want to give the one who was hired the same as I gave you. Don't I have the right to do what I want with my own money? Are you envious because I am generous?" So the last will be first, and the first will be last. Welcome to the reflection. Whether you have come to it the minute it's uploaded, or after your evening meal, or maybe the day after it was released, it's a delight to have you join us, and you are most welcome. As a child and young to medium adult, this passage always confused me. Yes, to me it was unfair that the guys who turned up at the end of the day were paid the same as those who worked from breakfast. Yes, I did think that those who worked longer hours should receive proportional remuneration. But then a human's interpretation of value and God's are different. The Bible is difficult to understand. That's why a good relationship with God and the willingness to turn up are essential tools in learning the Bible lingo. There are many interpretations of the meaning of this passage. That God's love is available at whatever point you accept Him. That God is generous to honour you with whatever sins you may carry. That sometimes God wants you to rest. I was particularly taken by the one that says all we need do is turn up. God will decide the rest. You see, God is in charge of us if we let Him. God's the boss. God knows. We are not God. We would like to be boss, but boy, when we be the boss, don't we make a mess? This "we are not God" idea was brought home to me when I had a conversation with a bright young 14-year-old. The teenager. "What do you think God thinks about us having television?" Me. "I think we should pay more attention to what we did to get the TV and how much time we spend watching the telly." Which brings me to thinking about sin, I said. If God made us in His own image, where does sin fit in? Teenager, with that sigh only teenagers can give, that says, "Do I really have to tell you?" The teenager said, "God made us. If we didn't sin, we'd be perfect. We'd be God. We aren't God. God is God. We sin." This tells us far more than their few years can possibly understand. It reminds us that we are not God, that we sin and therefore can't be God, and that TV is irrelevant so long as we don't let it get in the way of turning up. And the passage above reminds us that no matter how godlike we might behave, how much we forget Him, how much we ignore Him, when we turn up we are valued and loved as much as the first guy who turned up. So thank you for joining me today. Your interests and presence are much valued, whatever time you turned up.